Joining us, New York Congressman Mike Lawler. He is a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Katie.
You call this righteous. If it is righteous, why leave the regime in place?
Well, I think you have a few issues here. Number one, obviously, you had the indictment of Maduro 3 times in the United States. The Biden administration had a $25 million bounty on his head. And you had, over 60 countries and the EU and the U.S. going back to Trump 1, the Biden administration, and Trump 2, saying he's illegitimate. And so they were able to execute an operation to basically cut off the head of the snake and arrest him, read him his Miranda rights, and bring him back to the U.S. to stand trial. The objective in the immediate is to deal with the acting, quote-unquote, president, who we do not recognize as legitimate, but she is in control of the armed forces and the security forces, the Vice President Rodriguez. And so we have to deal with her in the immediate to effectuate a free and fair election, which is really what every Democrat was calling for the last 5 years.
Why
and
haven't
now
I heard that from the administration,
magically they're changing. Secretary Rubio said it expressly over the Sunday shows. He spoke on nearly every show saying the same thing.
Is there a timeline for when there's going to be a free and fair election? Because the president had said that he doesn't support the opposition leader, that she's not popular enough, or presumably the person who won the election last time, that Nicolas Maduro, refused to cede power to. If it is about making sure that the right person or the person who won the election is in charge of Venezuela, why not support the opposition?
Well, Maduro obviously prevented the person who was going to win from being considered on the ballot, and then they cheated and disregarded the election results. And so, to me, you have to have a free and fair election. That is what is going to need to happen here. I think in order to get there, though, you have to have some level of stability. You can't allow this to devolve. And so there's got to be a transition. I think the president made very clear yesterday that Vice President Rodriguez is going to have to cooperate here, or there's going to be consequences to that. But this mission that was executed over the weekend was flawless. It was done within 3 hours. Is pretty remarkable when you consider what our military, in cooperation with the Department of Justice, was able to do, getting into the compound within 3 minutes and getting Maduro and reading him his Miranda rights. So I think the next steps obviously are critical. There's a lot of things at play here. One of the things, and this goes back to the briefing we had just before, the holidays, was in relation to the seized oil ships that are involved in the illicit oil trade with Iran. And that is part of the challenge that we've been dealing with. It's not just the illegal drug trade that Nicolas Maduro, as the head of a narco-terror state, was engaged in. It is the illicit oil trade with our adversaries, with people who seek to undermine and destabilize the U.S., Europe, Israel, and the free world. And that is what we're dealing with, frankly, after 2-3 decades of malfeasance by prior administrations on not dealing with the problem in the Western Hemisphere.
Well, let me ask you about the problem that we're currently facing, because it is now, we're in the present. You're talking about consequences if there is not a free and fair election. Do you have an idea from the administration what those consequences will be?
I think that obviously is part of what we're going to seek to get answers from the administration when we get briefed. They're doing a briefing, as you just discussed with Senator Warner, with the Gang of Eight today. And I believe there will be a member briefing for the full Congress coming up. But these are the discussions that will be undertaken. But, one of the things that I find remarkable, frankly, Katie, is Kamala Harris coming out and saying that this was illegal. The Biden administration put a $25 million bounty on his head. They wanted him removed. Democrats like Chuck Schumer stood on the Senate floor back in 2020 and said that Maduro should be removed. And now they've suddenly changed their worldview on this situation. And it's really troubling. The fact
let
is
me ask you
that
about
this man was illegitimate and he never should have been in power.
Let me ask you, though, about what's going to happen next, because, this is, you could argue that that's, yelling from the cheap seats. You have one of the seats of the party in power, so you guys are in control. If the president says those consequences are boots on the ground in order to enforce a free and fair election, and the premise of this being about free and fair elections, I'm gonna ask you about as well. But if he says free and fair elections, we need to have them boots on the ground, are you a yes?
I would want to see, obviously, a fully laid out plan as to what that would entail for U.S. troops to go into Venezuela. This was a very specific mission. It lasted 3 hours, in terms of removing Maduro and arresting him for prosecution here in the United States. Remember, he's been indicted 3 times in the U.S.
What about the premise of this being about democracy and not being about oil? Because there's a lot of accusations. In fact, the president himself has said this is very much about oil. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, a lot of things can be true all at once. Number one, he's been indicted 3 times in relation to the illegal drug trade and the trafficking of drugs into the U.S. and around the globe. Number 2, obviously, the illicit oil trade with Iran and the potential of bad actors like China and Russia seizing control. We do not want them in our hemisphere. We do not want them in control of large oil reserves in our hemisphere, which, as we've seen with Maduro and the Iranian regime, they've been engaged in this illicit oil trade that does fund terrorism. And yes, we want a free and fair election in Venezuela. This is one of the most oil and mineral-rich countries in the world, and its economy has dissolved because of this socialist regime under Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro that has run it into the ground. Poverty rates have spiked. We see in New York City Zohran Mamdani talking about collectivism and the warmth of it. There's a reason the Venezuelan people are cheering in the streets at Maduro's arrest. They've seen the cold, hard reality of what his collectivism brought.
Yeah, there's a lot of celebration among Venezuelans and a lot of hope that what comes next is better. One more question for you before you go. Elise Stefanik has dropped out of the governor's race. Are you reconsidering jumping in?
No, I'm running for re-election.
All right, Mike Lawler, congressman from New York. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Katie.